And to briefly pause here, does anyone know what J.K. Rowling said that was transphobic? Can anyone produce any transphobic statements by her? You cannot, because there are none.
What about her transphobic manifesto? She wrote a transphobic manifesto, dog. Like, it's long. Oh man, it's detailed. Yeah, no, there's a lot of direct evidence.
Survivor of domestic.
Produce one thing. Oh, here's the manifesto. Produce more words. Let's listen to Graham Linehan's fantastic speech then.
Okay, I'm a writer. I've written several comedy programs, the most famous of which is probably Father Ted. But I'd ask you today to briefly take me seriously because I believe the stakes could not be higher. Almost 4 years ago, I saw that feminists were being bullied, harassed, and silenced for standing up for their rights and for their children's rights. I decided to use my platform on Twitter to bring attention to what seemed to be an all-out assault on women, on their words, their dignity, and their safety. Also,
he's trying to be an honorable TERF right now, eh? He's really ramping up that TERF shit. Yeah. No, I'm doing it entirely for the women. It has nothing to do with my deep-seated bigotry towards people that absolutely have nothing to do with me. There's no correlation between me and trans people, actually. I'm just trying to impress them and have been for some time, and I'm trying to use it under the guise of feminism. That's what I'm going to do here, and let's see how this goes, yes. Oh, what? That's it? I lost my wife as well. Well, yes, I lost my wife, lost my legacy, lost my career, lost my dignity. Oh, yes, and I've been effectively laughed off the internet, and now I'm just continuing to try and marginalize people. But I'm doing it for the women, you see. This is for you, ladies. Yes, my gift to you. I hope all of you appreciate me deeply for all of this. I'll have no trouble finding a new wife, I'll tell you that much.
So I saw that vulnerable children were being fast-tracked onto a medical pathway that could carry severe long-term implications. My position is very simple. I believe everyone should be allowed to talk about these issues. In fact, I believe that it is a moral imperative that we do so. I'm talking about such matters as the scandals at the Tavistock, the confusing and misleading advice that Stonewall has been providing to institutions all over the UK regarding the nature of the Equalities Act, the issue of men in women's sports, in women's prisons, their rape crisis centres.
Wow, he's like, even in this like this little statement, he's been unbelievably transphobic. Graham Linehan's fantastic speech to the Communications and Digital Committee on Tuesday. Fantastic. Yeah, okay. All right, TERF.
The destruction of basic safeguarding principles that has led to all this, and the silencing and abuse of feminists, doctors, teachers, academics, and writers, anyone, in fact, who questions the fashionable American orthodoxy of gender identity ideology. For engaging in this debate,
identity or ideology?
A series of harassment campaigns, including vexatious legal actions, police visits, magazine articles misrepresenting my positions, threatening letters hand-delivered to my home, my wife's business address released online. Anything and everything has been tried to silence me and prevent people from hearing the reasonable fears many women have about the impact of this ideology on their sex-based rights. I've also lost work. As a result of my sudden financial insecurity, my marriage was placed under such a severe strain that my wife and I finally agreed to separate.
Yeah, it was the financial security, not you just being a professional bigot. I'm sorry, Graham, I don't want to have to deal with this anymore. It's most unpleasant, you know. Every time I log on the internet, you're just being a horrible wretch. And, you know, there's trans children are dying, there's black trans women murdered every single year. I don't want to be a part of this anymore, Graham. Can you stop? Is any chance you can stop? Just please, you don't have to do this. You understand that. You don't have to do any of this. The website is free. It's free, Graham. And everyone still loves you. You know, you have millions of fans around the world. They love all the work you've done. And I don't know why my accent is slightly becoming Scottish as I keep talking. I'm not entirely sure.
Believe me, I would rather be writing a farce than living through one, but this is a very dangerous farce, one in which children's health and happiness are gambled on an ideology that makes no sense and yet is zealously and obsessively policed by misogynistic activists on platforms.
An ideology. Wow. He's pulling a full Caleb Maupin, eh? You see, it's trans ideology, and I don't understand anything about trans ideology. I'm not a transphobe. I stand up for trans people around the world and protest, but I just don't know anything about trans ideology. Like what? That's why I refuse to comment or learn anything about this topic or ask an actual trans person about it. But I'm just going to keep saying that, okay? It's not my fault. I've done nothing wrong. All right.
But it's not just the platforms or their users that are preventing a debate. Around 3 years ago, I was among the initial signatories of a letter to Stonewall asking them to help lower the toxicity of the conversation around sex and gender and acknowledge the plurality of views on the subject. The letter was composed by Johnny Best, a gay man and longtime LGBT activist, and a majority of those initial signatories were either gay, lesbian, or trans.
Oh, yeah, dropping the I have a gay friend card. Yeah, no, it's not bigotry. We got a signatory. We got a gay, okay? We got a real life gay. Yeah, we got one. And then they signed off on it. That's so obviously none of this is bigoted towards the LGBTQ community, all right? I got a few of the letters in there, dog. Don't worry about it. There's representation.
We wanted to see an end to women receiving death and rape threats for standing up for their sex-based rights. To that end, we asked Stonewall to commit to fostering an atmosphere of respectful debate rather than demonizing as transphobic those who wish to discuss or dissent from Stonewall.
You are a transphobic asshole. Like, fuck you. Oh my God. And nothing being proposed is infringing on women's rights. What are you talking about? Like, that's the weirdest thing. Like, none of this impacts you. Like, I don't understand this. Why? Why are you doing this? I feel like your ex-wife right now. Why? It doesn't make any sense.
Flatly refused this appeal within the day and continued to dishonestly frame women standing up for their rights as an attack on trans rights. The petition has since been signed by over 11,000 people, many of them gay men and women, in despair of what is being done in their name.
Oh, well, then it can't be transphobic.
Is only the latest and most
I hope you understand. I mean, if there's gay women and men in there, then yeah, it's not transphobic at all. That's basically, yeah, that's a get out of jail free card. Get out of transphobia free card. You got a full deck, my dude.
The magazine Pink News, which is partly funded by Google, ran 42 stories on her in a single week. That's 6 stories a day. But there are thousands more women who are bullied and slandered and harassed into silence. These women, and they are mostly women, are not famous, and so even more vulnerable to the smear campaign.
Just so you know, by the way, this is going to age the same way that, like, you know, old white dudes in the 1950s being like, I just don't, you know, think black people should have equal rights. There's a handful of reasons, but I'm honestly, I'm doing this for Christianity. I'm doing this for good Christians everywhere, okay? This is to uphold the word of God, and I just want to know that it's in Scripture. It's in Scripture that we should be oppressing these people, and that's all there is to it. I care deeply about this issue, all right? I care. There's some people who signed off on it. All right, there's others who have signed off. Okay, they're the professors of sorts.
And targeted harassment that J.K. Rowling and myself have endured. And to briefly pause here, does anyone know what J.K. Rowling said that was transphobic? Can anyone produce any transphobic statements by her? You cannot, because there are none.
What about her transphobic manifesto? She wrote a transphobic manifesto, dog. Like, it's long. Oh man, it's detailed. Yeah, no, there's a lot of direct evidence.
Survivor of domestic
produce one thing. Oh, here's the manifesto. Produce more words.
She wrote movingly about the importance of single-sex spaces to vulnerable women and children. She complained about the erasure of the word woman in many areas of civic life. And she pointed out correctly, in my view, that we are living through the most...
Where has the word woman been erased? Are you referring to WimX or Women-X? Because no one's on that side of the argument. No one's like, yeah, we need WimX. There's no erasure. That's the thing. It's like nothing. No, you're making things up. You're just lying. You're just lying now.
Misogynistic period we've ever experienced. In place of evidence.
The most misogynistic period we have ever come on, TERFs. Even you must realize how hyperbolic that is. There was a suffrage movement. Women couldn't vote. You used to be able to rape your wife. Come on, you have to realize how fucked up of a statement that is.
For supposed transphobia, we have hundreds, if not thousands, of YouTube stars, Twitter trolls, mainstream media outlets, including the BBC, spreading a poisonous
they burned witches. They burned women alive because they thought they were witches because they could read. Like, oh my God, she could read. She has it must be magic. There's only one explanation for that. Yes, no, yeah. Let's. I'm thinking we dunk her underwater repeatedly until she confesses. Because if she's a witch, she'll confess. But if she's not, she'll die with honor. So this seems like a reasonable thing to do. Because again, the sin of reading. She's literate. There's only one explanation.
Otherwise, find the courage to echo her concerns. This silencing of women was the main reason I entered this fight. I knew the subject of gender was fraught, but I'm political by nature, and I couldn't remain quiet in the face of such vicious misogyny. I presumed that when others saw what was happening, that they too would speak up, and we would be able to force the debate our opponents were so desperate to avoid. I now realize that I was up against a much bigger beast than I thought. These platforms shape the debate and declare you untouchable when you refuse to play by their rules.
See, and it all comes full circle. We just watched a video on Tulsi Gabbard talking about the cancel culture being the same thing as a caliphate from ISIS, and now they've changed it. They've gone to this is what's happening thanks to big tech. Big tech is doing this as well. It's the almighty algorithms. You see,
the upshot is that many people presume that I am a bigot. These people also presume the same of J.K. Rowling and many other left-leaning, liberal and progressive women. If you believe that J.K. Rowling is transphobic, a woman who has devoted her work and much of her fortune to the vulnerable, the bullied, the forgotten, the abused, then you are under a spell. If you believe that men can fairly compete against women in their sports, including contact sports, then you are under a spell.
Like, why does it always go back to that? Why does it always go back to the sports thing? Do you watch women's sports, scrambling? Do you? Can you tell me who won the WNBA last year? Can you tell me who won women's soccer in FIFA? Can you tell me any of these things? Do you actually watch women's sports? Did you give a fuck about women's sports before this came along? Before it became this easy dunk?
If you believe that men will not go to the most extreme lengths to gain access to women and children, then you are under a spell. If you believe that children as young as 3 years old can agree to a procedure that puts them on a medical pathway for life, that arrests their natural puberty, and that has almost no scientific proof as to its efficacy as a treatment.
It's actually the exact opposite. It's like there's just a broad scientific consensus about this. Either you're willfully ignorant or you are lying right now. You are lying. Because if you did look at any of the scientific evidence, you would see that it reduces the suicidal ideation that these children experience. And there's such a small fraction of those who regret it that it doesn't even make it plausible, which means that you're basically, again, marginalizing people for a very small minority to protect your own bigotry. That's it. It's your own bigotry.
Social media has created a through-the-looking-glass world which is robbing everyone of their ability to think.
He's under spell. Yeah, that makes sense.
On Twitter, the straw that broke the camel's back was simply men are not women. A world where statements like men are not women is hate speech is a world on the brink of chaos. Feminists are just the canary in the coal mine in this upside-down world where public discourse depends on the whims of a small group.
Okay, can we confirm that was the tweet? It wasn't one of the other ones he did? Like, it wasn't one of the ragingly transphobic ones he does, or when he just, like, posts photos or was doing all, like, he was on a pathway of bigotry, all right? He was, like, he ramped it up consistently.
Gender identity ideology began in American universities, is uncritically disseminated by the popular media, but social media companies and their users are the enforcers. People do not understand the extent to which they have been indoctrinated by this ideology. Women who oppose it are trying desperately to be heard. Helen is one example of thousands. I have heard from young lesbians who are frightened that their sexuality will have them labeled transphobic.
Helen? Or is he talking about Ellen? Why is he bringing up Ellen? If he is, Ellen wasn't cancel culture. And that's just, she was a really shitty boss, like a really shitty, she just treated her employees like human garbage. And then everyone was like, oh, you're treating your employees like human garbage, you're really shitty. And other people were like, she was already shitty if you didn't know that, because she thinks George Bush is okay. So that's when we were like, oh yeah, you're actually pretty shitty, because he's a war criminal who committed war crimes. So it's just kind of weird to be like, George Bush is my new best friend, when again, he committed those war crimes. So, oh, Helen is his wife. All right, my mistake, I apologize.
From therapists unable to tell distraught children that their favorite author does not want them dead. I've heard from detransitioners who tell of young women being groomed by older men in trans youth groups. The reason you've not heard the things that I have heard is because the discourse is being shaped by trans rights activists. In place of reasoned arguments and democratic discussion, we have mantras like no debate and trans women are women. We have policies passing by stealth.
Classic.
We have bogus statistics about trans murder epidemics, and we have the unconscionable weapons
bogus statistics
for political ends.
Yeah, when it doesn't agree with my particular sensibilities, it's bogus. These stats are bogus, dog. And do you refute them? I mean, now the burden of proof is kind of on you, sir. So where do we go with this? What's bogus about it? Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Can you do the thing, you know, that thumbs up and comment and all those things that help us out in the algorithm that controls every aspect of our lives? Also, if you happen to have a Facebook account, can you delete it? Like, just delete it. You should probably delete your Facebook account, because it's not a great company. But hey, if you can't do that for whatever reason, I understand. And could you also go to facebook.com/thesurftimes then, and give us a little like and a follow. We're just trying to push back against the fact that people like Ben Shapiro happen to dominate the platform entirely. And when everyone asks why do older generations believe the things they believe, one of the problems is the majority of them on social media use Facebook. So to counter that, we're just going to be on there too now. Also, if you happen to have a union or a worker co-op or even a leftist project, podcast, website, Zoom, MySpace, it doesn't matter. We will advertise it for free on this channel. All you got to do is go to weareserfs.com and use the forms that we got there, weareserfs.com. Thanks, everybody.
To our glorious gods, Xander Corvus and I'm Rav, may you shower us with glory and smite our enemies. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, we serve at your leisure, your grace. To our lords, Tofox, Bisexual Black Gamer, Jimothy K. Meeble Beeps Jr., Ryan Lubin, Trevor R., Jeffrey Lamb, Alexander Thaler, and Hans Josephine, we shall carry your banner high into the fields of battle. To our Knights of the Round Table, Timothy Hart, Trevor Janis, Lemmy 101, Anthropophagic, Saren 42, Chronic de Hemphog, Kale Kotka, The Great Pudini, Bone Jenny, Catherine, Radical Maniac, Ramon Acosta, Incosin, J. Fraser Cartwright, Thomas Barrington, Jimmy Bignuts, Violent Orchard, Sophie Baby, Political Puppy, Andreas Chitoro, Goofalankius, Zach Christensen, Nicholas Marks, Yopi, Josh Mickelson, Melissa Murphy, Todd Buckingham, Todd Lajeunesse, Constance Joyce Lacheris. We lift our glasses of ale and we salute you.